Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Gadsden State Community College Softball Show. Howard Chan along with Randy Cunningham and our special guest, as always, Coach Ryan Clark. Coach Clark, thanks for joining us here on a Sunday afternoon. Somebody double and triple and quadruple booked us the first couple of nights of the week, so we're having to scramble around to get everybody on at a decent time. And thank you for rearranging your schedule to be able to join us tonight.
No problem. Always a pleasure.
Hey, Howie, since you blame me, uh,
No, no. Coach Clark,
well,
did I blame anybody?
since I was
What's
indicated,
anybody's name?
uh, tomorrow night we are having a discussion about the new regions too, and the public private split. So it should be interesting. Join us tomorrow night. It at 6 with what his title is. I don't, Howie.
Speaker of the House for Alabama, Nathaniel Ledbetter.
All right. There you go. So, Coach, I'm sorry. We booked him at the same time on Friday, Monday.
That's all right.
It's my fault.
So, Coach Clark, busy week for you for the last 2 weeks, actually, because practice actually kicked off and getting everybody back used to practicing and getting some girls
I
back.
think the weather is causing us a little problem here. Coach Clark, he was going to ask you that the last 2 weeks been really busy for you.
I can hear him.
Oh, you can? I lost it.
Must be
So
that Chattanooga weather.
let's go again. Let me stop talking. Go ahead, Howie.
Anyway, I don't remember where I got to, but anyway, you got new players coming in. You got uh, older players that are coming back from injury and everything. How's everything coming together so far?
It's good. We the first 2 weeks of practice has been a lot. It's been full of a lot of situational stuff. That's what we've been focusing on the most. Obviously, your skill work. If you're not caught up with skill work by now, then you're a little bit behind. But we're mixing in our skill work and our situational stuff every single day, making a full day out of it. We've been going about 3.5 hours at practice just to make sure we're getting everything in. Probably about the first hour and 15, maybe hour and a half. We're covering defensive situations and all the possibilities that they present, and then we're actually also we work the offensive side of that same situation. So that's kind of where we're at right now, as far as what we've been doing over the last 2 weeks, trying to get our arms back in shape. They were fine. They did well over the break and kept their arms in shape pretty well. Just trying to get game ready because we play 6 days from now.
Absolutely. Go ahead and let everybody know you're playing 6 days from now at Albertville, but you're playing Chattanooga.
Yeah, we're playing Chattanooga State and Roane State. We'll play them both. I think we play Roane actually first at 10, and then Chattanooga at 3 o'clock.
How is it going into these games? And I know you can kind of look back to last year preparing, but how is it going in kind of sight unseen playing these teams?
Well, you kind of get a feel for it. Marty up at Roane does a really good job, and they do a good job. Coach Blythe over there at Chattanooga. So you know they're going to be well prepared. They're going to be good teams. They're going to be very competitive right out of the gate. So you kind of get sight unseen, but at the same time, you just know that they're going to be very competitive. They're going to have good athletes just like we do. So, there's not a lot of teams that you can play at this level that don't have the same type of athletes. It's going to be, who has a better day that day, who's more prepared that day.
Randy, toward the end of the show, we're going to ask Coach Clark if he'll give us a little bit of his lineup that's going to be taking the field come Saturday, but we'll save that for the grand finale, I guess.
Yeah, that works for me because I'm not going to ask him because I don't want to know yet because I'm a little scared he might tell me something, and I have secret information. Hey,
Yeah.
just joking. Hey, Coach, Chattanooga State is just down the road from me. I'm within 2.5 miles of Chattanooga State, maybe 4.5. It's close. Um, it's a nationally ranked program. How much can you learn playing somebody like that about your team?
Well, when you play somebody that's nationally ranked and doing it year after year, you can definitely gauge yourself, especially playing teams like that in your preseason. I've said it many times before. I like a challenge. I like our girls to be challenged. I like them to see, this team goes and competes for the national tournament every year. So kind of see where we're at compared to where they're at, and gauge yourself off of that. That they're going to be a good team. They're, I think, number 12 in the country right now preseason. But that's what we want. That's how we want our preseason to go. Is we want to play teams that are good, that are going to challenge us, that are going to show us, a little bit of how our conference will be, because our conference is going to be tough. We've got two nationally ranked teams in our conference as well. So, being able to play them early is gonna show where we're at, and kind of let us gauge ourselves as to see where we're at competition wise at the time.
It also, Rome, for people who don't know, just north of Chattanooga, about an hour. So it becomes one of this, y'all kind of have to see each other on the recruiting trail too. So it's teams that you might know some of the players from your recruiting, but you haven't saw them live on the field in a year or two.
Yeah. So Coach Marty up at Roan, he does a really great job. He coached at Tennessee for a while, and Georgia Tech, and he's a veteran of the game, and knows it really well. It's another guy I like sitting and talking to about recruiting trail and stuff like that. But we do see each other a lot, especially summertime. I spend a lot of time around some Alabama players and Alabama tournaments, and then in the fall I like to go out and spend a lot of time in Tennessee and Georgia. So we are crossing paths with those guys a lot. So it's pretty cool getting to sit and hear stories, and always try to pick their brain of anybody that's been doing this for a while. And Coach Marty's a good one.
Coach, there's almost a period here where you've been through your spring, and I'm talking about Chattanooga State and Rome State, of course. We've got local schools too, and everybody's kind of went through the same thing the last month. What will it feel like? This will be your third year, but second year competing, I believe.
Mhm.
What will it feel like wrapping this week up and moving into a live schedule?
Ready to get it going, because last year you have a team full of freshmen that's not been there, done that, and this year you got a little bit of leadership from your sophomores that have been there, and they kind of can show the way to the freshmen, and it won't be such a shell shock when we start, and you're playing all these double headers instead of a single game every night, and it's very different. But going into this weekend, I feel like we're a lot more prepared than we were a year ago. A lot of that falls on me and learning, and I feel like we're way further ahead at this point now than we were a year ago.
Well, you just stole my next question. I was going to say, where does this team set compared to last year's team? But let's expand one level. Where does this team set compared to last year's, as far as what you wanted to install and you want to see on the field?
It's really not comparable when we're talking about things that I've got to install, and things that we've got to at this point that we might not have gotten to until later in the year. Last year, we've installed our entire defense. We've installed our entire offense, and right now we're in a polishing stage. Instead of, if they do this in an emergency, we need to do this. We're well prepared as far as what to do in situations, and having everything installed.
Coach, it seems like the last 2 years have been build, 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 hurry up and wait, build, 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 hurry up and wait. It is a different sense around the Gadsden softball program right now, in that you have your home field built, you have some 2-year player leadership. Your staff has been in place a couple of years. Is it now become, football coaches and basketball coaches almost talk about your team becomes in a routine with you. They know what to expect. Do the girls understand now kind of what you expect at practice? And game day. And, we even joked one night about eating. It's kind of was all new to you 2 years ago.
Yeah, they at this point right now, this group, they're used to the routine. You don't have to sit around and explain anything. We go from one station to the other at practice, and we do a lot of different things at practice. We start out with a pregame routine that we do every day after they stretch and throw, and we'll go straight from that into individual work, and then we go to a team situational, and then after that we go to an infield auxiliary. They know all that stuff, and it happens a lot faster now because they can bounce around from thing to thing and not have to sit and think and be everything be explained to them. They're moving at a very high rate right now, and I like doing that because you move at a high rate at practice, and you're moving from station to station, and you're getting different situations thrown at you 5 minutes apart. Then in a game you should be pretty prepared for those. But yeah, they're well adapted to our routine at practice, and they kind of know what's expected at this point. And we had some fall games, so the expectation level in the fall compared to last spring was a lot higher, and they answered that call. And so, I'm sure before we go play, we'll have a couple of cold days here. We can have some team meetings, and I think before we go play Saturday, we'll have some time to sit and talk about reminders of what we expect during games and how everything should flow.
Coach, last question, Howie, and I'll come to you. Coach, I've been lucky enough to be around you several years, even going back to your high school days. Your level of comfort, it seems like it's increased too. And I know we've talked about the team, but your staff, I think have a good feel of. Have you and the staff kind of bonded, and have you become the unit that you hoped you would be?
Yeah, no doubt. I've known Coach Hart for a long time, so bringing somebody in that I knew, that was a big help. And then Coach Russo's been doing this for a very long time. Having somebody with that experience on your staff is always good. Coach Russo kind of runs the offensive side of things. I work with the hitters as well, but and I do the defensive side of things. And then Coach Hart and Coach Delaney, they both work with pitchers and catchers. So everybody having their own role and taking that role and running with it's really helped me in the long run, instead of me feeling like, when you're coaching at high school and you got Tyler Van as your assistant, you're having to do a whole lot of things by yourself. So, because that's spring training time during softball season. So, it's a big help, and that's different for me, because usually when you're on a staff and at the high school level, you're doing a lot of the things by yourself. And now the fact that you can trust somebody to, not that I didn't trust Van, but trust somebody to take a position and run with it and do those things is huge.
Yeah, Coach, I don't blame you, Howie. Van's 364 days football, so that one day off was Christmas. So
No,
Howie, you knocked it off.
the one day off was when his son was born. That was
Yeah,
that was the day off from football, and he took
yeah.
3 off from softball. So
He might have took one off to do a show one night, but he wasn't going to tell you that. Go ahead, Howie.
yeah.
Coach, you kind of mentioned something a while ago about the cold coming in next week, especially tomorrow, down in the single digits. Y'all are on a 3.5 hour delay and everything. How's that going to affect your practice for tomorrow and Tuesday?
Tomorrow may be one of those days that I was talking about earlier. We go in a classroom because I'm not putting anybody outside in that 20 degrees, and especially because our turf will probably be frosted over, with the rain and moisture in the air and all that cold weather coming in. So not 100% certain, but tomorrow looks like it may end up being a classroom day where we go in, we talk about some things and kind of get some things laid out for the weekend, as long as we do get to play. And if we don't, then whenever we do play, we play. And, I think that'll be a high possibility of that, and maybe do some conditioning in the gym. If we can find a time slot there where it's open, we'll be able to do some things. But if if all goes as planned, we'll be on campus tomorrow doing something in some way.
Do you record your practices and possibly go back and rewatch them and show the girls, hey, this is where you should have done this?
Well, a lot of times when we enter squad or even when we're doing some drills and stuff, I'll go back and because a lot of times when you're running a drill, you got your head down and you're working that drill and you can't see everything. And I go back and watch so that way it may be a teaching point the next day, but we do record a lot of stuff at practice.
I was just curious if maybe tomorrow would be one of those days where you're in the classroom, just bring the film up and say, okay, let's watch it and see what should have been done here and there.
Right. No, yeah, we have those days. We have a lot of times it's me going back to watch the film and take notes and then take them to the team afterwards and talk about and just kind of talk through things. And a lot of times it's easier when you're on the field because it is tough in a classroom when you're up there you're talking and they may not remember the certain scenario, but when you're on the field and you can move them and tell them exactly where the ball is and all that stuff, it's a little easier. But yeah, that's similar to some of the things that we'll do when we're in the classroom.
Randy, it seems like you got a question.
No, well, it kind of what you said led to another question for me. Coach, when you're doing the classroom, is it not? It's almost like being in school again. It's probably harder to hold their attention in a classroom setting than it is the field setting.
Yeah, yeah, it is a little bit now. We've got a pretty good group. They pay attention. They listen, and if I can't have your attention for an hour meeting, then I can't trust you to stay locked into a game for 2.5, 3 hours. So we don't really have that issue. I could see it, and I could see some eyes wondering and counting the ceiling tiles and stuff as we're talking. But we really haven't had that issue. But yeah, that's one thing I don't like about going in a classroom is because the attention span nowadays is a little bit shorter. And so, but it is good, in my opinion, to go sit in there and talk and just kind of talk through things and maybe polish some things or answer some questions that someone may have.
And you can always lean on Coach Hart's expertise. Like, he does run study halls all day. So
That's right.
you can use some of his tips.
Yep. Yeah, he's the professional in that aspect, and I let him have it.
Yeah. Howie, I've got myself enough trouble. Go ahead.
Coach, talk about Saturday. You're going to have a couple of games Saturday. What will you do in between the games to get the girls kind of get them, I guess, re-energized, but also keep them loosened up and warmed up?
Well, that's a good question because that is a long break. I mean, you got like a 3.5, maybe 4 hour break, depending on how games fall. So the plan for Saturday probably is to go eat between games, so that way they're not sitting out in the whatever temperature it may be, and especially at that park at Sand Mountain, I think it's always 10 degrees colder there than it is everywhere else. But
Start to say
um,
this.
it's cold there, so we probably go eat between games and then come back in enough time to treat it just like another game. Like we're not playing a doubleheader; it's just another single game. Is probably how we'll treat that as far as stretching, warming up, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was pulling up to look Saturday. I think the high it's showing here. The high is going to be like 33 degrees.
Yeah,
So
you won't be seeing me there if it's 33 degrees is the high. So I don't know. That's cold.
yeah, the low is supposed to be 13. The high is going to be like 33 on Saturday. So
Yeah, so the 10 a.m. game would be about 17 degrees. No, thank you.
No. I'm not even eating outside at 17.
No.
So yeah, that's something else you got to take in consideration too. How long of a notice do you have to let the I guess the host of the tournament know that hey, we're not coming because it's too cold?
If it's that cold, he'll cancel. He's not going to put his team because his team's playing in it. Obviously, he's not going to put his team in danger. And I know Tracy's going to do everything he can for us to play that tournament, but he'll call it if it becomes a safety issue. And anything that low is a safety issue. So I think he'll use his best judgment there, and I don't think we'll have to worry about making that call because if it's safe enough, we'll be there playing and the tournament will go on. And if it's not, I think he'll cancel it before anybody else has to make that call.
It becomes a danger to the bats, does it not, Coach? Once it goes below a certain temperature,
Yeah.
breaking bats, cracking bats.
Yeah, you lose a warranty on it. It's the big problem. So
Mm.
if you're using it under a certain temperature, I don't know how they would ever be able to tell, but if you're using it under a certain temperature, then that warranty is voided. So I think but I think the safety concern would be the number one, and yeah, some of the equipment could break or mess up.
Aaron McKenzie has a great point here. Compared to the temperature for tomorrow, Saturday at that 33 will be actually a heat wave compared to what temperature is going to be tomorrow. So,
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I won't be outside. I won't be outside on the field tomorrow either. So
It's going to be so cold tomorrow. I wouldn't be outside if it was Celsius.
yeah, no, it's gonna be cold.
yeah, absolutely. And, Coach, you got to, let's talk about some of the girls that's come back from injury, if you will, as far as how have they progressed getting back into the flow of things.
They've both done really well. Abby's made some really good plays on defense. We've went live a couple times. She's played really really well on defense. Um, she's done fine on offense, but to her, she thinks she's done bad, but she's done okay offensively, and just getting back in the swing of things. And she's going to break out of that pretty soon and be fine. She's swinging the bat fine. It's just a timing mechanism that she lost over the break that she was out, not being able to swing a bat, and that happens, and it's going to come back to her. And Lauren Farmer, she's done really well. She's hit the ball really, really well in scrimmages, live situations, stuff like that. She's swinging the bat really well, and that was our two that's coming back off of injury.
You're talking about inter squad games and everything, going live inter squad games. Is there a lot of trash talking going on between the girls while that's going on?
No, we tried to get them to, but there's really not. Now we got two twins. They I put them on opposite teams, and it gets interesting sometimes. So, but that's about it. I told them one day, I said, if y'all end up in a fight, you better be ready to go because we're gonna see who wins before we break it up. So, but no, that's a joke, by the way. We'll get it broke up as fast as we can, but I don't think they're going to tie up. But those two, they give each other a hard time, and a lot of times it's more support even from the other team as it is, trash talk. But no, we've had some good inter squads.
Mm.
Coach, yeah, we knew that you was joking about that, but I'm glad that you set yourself straight because the way the world is today, who knows who would take it out of context and say, Gadsden State coach says he's going to let two girls just fight it out until one of them don't stand up no more.
Yeah, those. Never mind. Yeah,
yeah. So, but Coach, it's it's getting closer. The freshmen that came in had a little bit of the fall experience. Can you see an improvement? And I'm not asking which ones, but can you see an improvement in most of the girls that came in as freshmen from the fall till going into this spring here?
Oh yeah, tremendous improvement. I think just from a an awareness standpoint, I think that's the biggest improvement we've had. They can all play skill wise at this level, or they wouldn't be here. And I think just the awareness of what it takes every single day. It's not for everyone, and the ones that realize that they do one or two things. They bow out or they put their nose down and work and grind and 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 keep working until they get a spot and get a role on the team. So I think that part is the biggest growth you can have as a freshman is just realizing there's this bottom line is not for everyone. It's tough. It's really hard. Um, and the ones that realize that early are better off because they either put their nose down, like I said, and they grind, they work, or they find a way out. So I think that's the biggest thing that we've seen from our freshmen is that we've got a bunch that are putting their nose down, they're grinding, they're trying to find a role on this team.
Uh, Last question before I turn it over to you, Randy. But you kind of mentioned before we went live, you had a conversation with Coach Guthrie yesterday or day before, or whatever. Do you talk to a lot of the coaches in the conference about things that's going on and what to expect from other teams?
I talked to a few. Coach Guthrie, that was today. We had a phone conversation right before I got on here, but he's been around. He's done it for a long time. And there's several in the conference that I talked to a decent amount. But there's nobody really in the conference. Is just there's a big hate for between the two coaches. We all, for the most part, get along outside of games. If we're in the same place, we're gonna have conversations. So there's a there's a few that I talk to on a regular basis.
I guess it's over to me, Coach. We're going to change up a little bit, not talk much about game day. Is just how do you get the girls back into school, get in the flow of school, and how has that went starting this winter semester?
It's went pretty well. They register for classes well before they leave, so we kind of have an idea of what they're going to be in, and once they start their classes, we get them to bring their schedule. That's harder to do for some than others, but they bring the schedule in, and we keep a copy of it on hand, and we perform checks every now and then that we go in and check and see, make sure everybody's in class, supposed to be in class. We've not had a big issue with that. And then we started study hall back up this past week, and we all sat in there for a couple hours on Thursday afternoon to make sure there's no excuse as I don't have time to sit and do my homework. Everybody goes in and we sit together as a team and sit there for a couple hours and work on it. And the good thing is they have teammates in there if they don't understand something, so that they're not in there by themselves, and they're not just thrown to the wolves as far as not understanding or not being able to do something. But academics are a big thing for us. We had a 3.55 team GPA. Technically was a little bit higher than that if we would have got to count Lily Henry and Caitlin St. Clair, but they let the other two teams count them for the fall semester. But we still had a 3.55 GPA, which is really, really high. 3.5 is our goal, and so we met that in the first semester, and so we want to continue to meet that each semester.
You brought up peer-to-peer tutoring. That's a tool that's kind of a luxury, especially as you get more sophomores in the program. I mean, they might be taking English 2 and struggled with English 1, can help that freshman. When you're in study hall, do you get a lot of peer-to-peer counsel, tutor, or is it just?
You'll see them sitting together, and a lot of times it is this is what I like about having sophomores. They kind of have an idea of what certain teachers, what certain classes expect, and you'll hear them kind of give advice to that freshman that how they wish they would have handled it with that teacher or with that class. So yeah, a lot of peer-to-peer help there, and I think that's a lot easier for not just freshmen but sophomores too that need help. It's a lot easier to go ask a teammate than go ask a tutor that you don't know. But there are, we've got tutors on campus that do a phenomenal job, and we've used those as well. So we've got a lot of resources that are helpful, but peer-to-peer is as good as any of them.
Coach, I know there was talk about NIL and transfer portal and this and that, and at your level, it's not there as much. I'm sure you get some transfers, but there is a level of how many hours a day would you say an average player is involved in school and softball? It would be a large number, like working a full-time job, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, there's days, game day could be anywhere 15, 18-hour days, especially when you're on the road. If we're just a practice day, then you're probably looking at around a 9 to 10-hour day just for a practice day with maybe study hall on the end of it. But, it's anywhere from, depends on the day, depends on what we're doing, depends on if we're traveling, if we're at home, anywhere from probably 9 hours to 18 hours. It's long days.
And I think that's lost on the general public. Even, we talk about Carson Beck not going to school in 2 years. Well, he got a degree in 4 years, and his job is kind of at that level to play football now, just like the NFL. But they were a period, and at your level, where being a student is equally as important as the field.
Right. Yeah. So going to class and all that's included in those hours, and we count that towards what you've got to have. Obviously to play here, you obviously have to be in those classes, and so if you work out in the morning and then you've got class all the way up till practice time, and then you got study hall after that, that could turn into that 9 hour day just for a practice day. So it is it is a long day. That a lot of people, like you said, they don't understand that, and and that goes back to that realization, and that it's not for everybody until you get there and you really see how long a 9 hour day is. And all I did was practice today and did study hall, right? So it's long days every day. So when they get off day, it probably feels like they're off for 48 hours when they may only be off for 24. So it's pretty cool though when you see freshmen start to kind of get it and get in the routine, and everything becomes a little more smooth for them and not so hectic like it is the first few weeks of school in the fall semester.
Well, there's a level of maturity too that you haven't been a high school teacher, and as a high school teacher, what was expected, they're not going to. I don't want to use the insulting word babysitter or something. They're not going to go out of the way to make sure your girls get their homework done or are there for the midterm. This is really shifting a level of maturity for them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we have that talk when they get here. Your professor, if you are engaged and you're having conversations with your professor, they're more likely to help you. But at this level in college, they don't have to reach out and ask you why you've been missing class or why you have missing assignments. They don't. A lot of hours at Gadsden do that, but they don't have to. And so we have that conversation with them, and nobody's going to hold your hand through this. And we don't get the. I don't have the luxury of pulling your grades up like your high school coach may have. So, that's all protected, and you're the only one that can actually see your grades. So, that's something that you have to learn when you're coming into college is you have to have a lot of responsibility and going to class, being on time for class, doing your assignments, because nobody's going to be there to hold your hand and make sure you're turning stuff in.
That's right. Last question, Howie, and I'll turn it over to you, and maybe you can talk about some lineups with Coach Clark. But Coach, I have a daughter that plays competitive flag football in high school, and at her level, there's a level commitment to, and at your level, there's a level. But I also see, I have an old saying that good kids grow up at the ball field, and I think it extends up to you're got good kids growing into good adults by what's happening at Gadsden State. Is there something you could, as a coach on a recruiting trail, that you can point to and say, if you come to Gadsden State, academic wise, or whatever, maturity wise, or even we've got here that somebody else don't have, what would it be?
Well, we do use that a lot in recruiting, and it is all the resources that you have as a student. Because one day softball ends. There's not humongous. There is a pro league, obviously, and there's places you can play after, but very, very, very limited. So for 90%, 95% of girls, softball ends without any money being made doing it, right? So the most important thing is your academic course and or your academic route. And so all the resources that we offer at Gadsden, as far as the tutoring that's free to our students, and then we have other resources like the student support services that Coach Hart works in, and we have study hall hours and stuff like that. We make sure that we're on top of our grades, because that's to me that's the most important part of when you're going to college. Obviously, I want to win games, I want to win championships, but if we get here and we all flunk out, then and I'm winning championships, then I feel like that's pretty selfish of me because I'm not helping you in the long run.
It's a great example, Howie. As we all know, I'm a Tennessee bandwagoner, beater. We often talk about Inky Johnson, who was on his way to being an NFL first round pick. And he said something when I heard him speak one time, Coach. And Howie, before I turn it over, I'd just like to share it. He said, even if I'd have been a first round draft pick, I've got to be a football player for maybe 3 or 4 more years, but I get to be a man the rest of my life. These get to be nurses and beauticians and scientists and teachers the rest of their lives, Coach.
Yep, that's exactly right. It ends one day for everybody.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Coach, I kind of joked around the last show we had 2 weeks ago about starting lineups and all that. And you kind of hit it around. You might know most of it better by the show, but for some reason, I thought the show was going to be on Monday instead of today. But anyway, we won't get back into that. But could you go over maybe some of the starting lineup or whatever you can let us know that maybe some breaking news here that the girls that are watching will find out, or however you want to do it?
Well, I'll kind of give you bunches and ideas of some players that you could likely see early in the season because, like I said, that starting lineup's always to be determined. And we'll start with the infield. You got Zeta Zapp, Molly Weaver, Abby Payne, Ava Ramsey, and then you've got Addis Andreas, Kayla Brothers, Leighton Arnold, Presley Slayton, who can all play in some capacity right there on the infield, and we expect them to do so at some point in time. Leighton, kind of a jack of all trades for us. She plays a little bit of outfield, working her some first base as well. She's also right now slotted as our top relief pitcher. So she's got a very, very important role on this team. Catching wise, we have 4 catchers. At some point in time, they'll probably all 4 catch because that is rough when you're back there catching 60 games.
Especially double headers too.
Right. So game 1, Casey Brothers is probably going to get the nod there unless something crazy happens over the next 5 days. And then you've got Rachel McCown, L.A. Wood, and Lacey Nichols, who are also working in at catcher some. They all have something they do a little better than the other one. And so there's going to be different combinations we can run there as well. And then outfield, Evelyn Splone, Lily Henry, Peyton Earp, Tinley Johnson, Leighton Arnold. You'll get 3 out of those 5. So there'll be some kind of rotation there. And then you also have Barrett Sneed, who was a player for us last year. She's a sophomore. She's actually she's made some very big improvements here just in the last couple of weeks. So she's making a push there as well. So we're going to be very competitive all the way across. You've got a lot of players that I didn't even mention who are going to be very important as far as being able to pinch hit, being able to pinch run, do some of those things. And then our starting pitchers in some way, somehow, Caitlin Rain, Sydney Simpson, and Presley Slayton. However that may fall, because I'm not going to run out somebody for 30 games preseason before we play conference. That's not very smart because we won't make it through conference if we kill them early. And then whichever one of those doesn't end up starting will be a reliever with Leighton. Then you've got Caitlin Battles, who also relieves some as well. I'm trying to make sure I haven't missed anybody. The ones that I did that I didn't mention, you got several who are on my pinch run list, and they're going to be important in helping us get through, and they'll be spot players at time, and they'll get chances to play the defense and be able to get chances to be in the lineup. And then you've got Chloe Phillips, who also brings a unique I don't know how to say this. She's very unique in the circle pitching wise. I'll just say that. So she also asked if we could have a pet rabbit in the locker room. So,
that's my girl right there.
You never know what Chloe's going to say. So she
I'm wondering about your answer instead of what she's going to ask. I'm wondering about your answer to that.
I just looked at her. I could. I mean,
Coach,
I knew she was being serious. There's no doubt in my mind. I've known her long enough. She was serious. I just kind of looked at her and shook my head. She's very efficient when she pitches. So she's going to have a role in this team as well. We've got several more who, like I said, they're going to have their role in a certain capacity. But any combination of the ones I mentioned could be starters anytime early in the season, and anybody that may not have got mentioned may emerge late in the year or middle of the year, or get some playing time in that way.
Coach, if she comes up and says, "Coach, if you'll get me a pet rabbit in the locker room, I'll pitch you a no hitter," would you get her a pet rabbit?
If she could guarantee that, then we'd have a pet rabbit in every locker.
started to say it looked like Bugs Bunny blew up in that locker room.
Yeah, everybody would get a rabbit if they all could tell me that they were going to throw no hitters.
Hey, Coach, and you just touched on it. You do use defensive replacement, and there's probably some girls that's got such gloves that late in the game you're going to put them in.
Yeah, so some of those that I may not have mentioned because they are our late in the defense players. You got Kirby Wisner, who's one of the best outfielders as far as being able to see a ball off a bat and just going to get it. She's really, really good with the ball in the air. You get late in the game and you've got to have fly ball outs and you got to cover the outfield a little bit more. Kirby may be somebody we point to in that scenario. Defensive replacement. I mentioned Addison earlier. I mentioned Kayla earlier. Both really good defensively. Depending on what we need arm wise across the infield or whatnot, we could look to one of those to fill in, and both of those will probably rotate and start early. So I'm talking about if they're not in, that they would be a possible defensive replacement, and then all those catchers that we talked about as well.
And Coach, I've followed softball a little bit. I consider myself a fan. I have a couple programs I follow it locally. It takes in the 20s of bodies just to get through a season. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I told him that the other day. It's going to take everybody in that circle. When we were talking after the game, it's going to take everybody in there we've got a couple that are fighting injuries right now that when they come back, they're going to be able to help in their own role as well. And, so I didn't even mention them, but when they come back, they'll be able to jump in and play a role in what we need them for. But, it takes everybody in that circle some way, somehow that whether it's keeping the scoreboard in the dugout or keeping stats or catching a bullpen, it doesn't matter. Every role is important and somebody's got to do it. And, just being able to realize that you are helping in whatever role that you're doing.
Coach, it's not really an exhibition Saturday. The season actually does start Saturday for y'all, but are you going to use this kind of like I can't really think of the word of it, but just kind of like hey, the lights are on. Let's see how you can do under live action.
Yeah, in a way. But they should be ready for competition because what we see every day at practice. They're getting to see good arms. Our arms are getting to see good bats at practice. So, it won't be as much of a throw you in the fire feel, but yeah, we got to see what you can do when the lights are on, when the game pressure gets high, and it all comes out in the wash, and with us being able to have those rotators and players off the bench that can contribute in big ways, it's gonna help, and it also makes the person in front of them a little better. They realize I can't just coast through here and go 0 for 3 2 games in a row and expect to still start the next 3 games in a row, right? So that's always good when you have competition within the team as well as competing against other people.
Plus, the girls are going to be seeing live action for the first time in a while with chatter going on in the other dugout too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think that'll affect them. We try to put them in some situations at practice where we turn that sound system up and try to get in their head and try to make have some loud noises and loud music and try to distract them a little bit. So I don't think the other team should ever affect the way you play, or it should. It has nothing to do with your preparation. So it does get to some players, but we try to alleviate that and put them in pressure situations with some loud music on or something like that at practice.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Randy, you got anything before we let this young man go?
I have my 72-inch monitor behind, and I have our show, and it's crazy. If you're watching the AFC, we're recording on Sunday. How much snows came down in Denver in the last 15 minutes? They are playing in a snowstorm there. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, Coach, I only say that too. I hope y'all get good weather this week, and I hope it takes care of everything. And I only had one other question, and that was, you were talking about Abby a little bit. It really seems she's fully back now. It's the person you expected when you signed her.
Yeah. She's actually a little better defensively right now than she was when she got injured, and that's not a knock on her. That's just her working when she got back. She's a little bit better defensively than she was a year ago today, and she gets back to swinging the bat the way we know she can. She's going to be tough.
Before the year is over with, she's going to put up some gaudy numbers. That's for sure.
Yeah, she's got the potential to do that.
Oh yeah, I'm cold just looking at this on the monitor. So you take it over,
Coach. We appreciate your time. And one more thing, you brought up the player that's going to play some infield for you, a little bit of outfield, and going to be a pitcher for you as well. The ultimate utility player. Before you make the lineup card out, do you like flip a coin just to see where she's going to be at which day?
No, so it depends. That's what we've been working with a lot. It's really depending on who's pitching, who's hitting at the time, and there's a bunch of possibilities when you've got somebody like that. And her and Presley both. That's Leighton Arnold and Presley Slayton. They're both that way. Presley probably not so much in the outfield, but could play some other positions, and having both of them in relief is really, really good for us. Or depending on, Presley may end up starting, but it really depends on who's pitching. I'll go back to your question. It really depends on who's pitching and who's hitting at the time, because if we got a certain pitcher up, then Leighton may be able to pinch hit in a certain situation. She got a really big bat, so certain situations we may be able to pinch hit her, or if it works out in a certain way that she's at first. And crazy as it sounds, Ava Ramsey, who just signed at Kennesaw State as a first baseman, can also play outfield pretty well. So there's a lot of different combinations that we have that we can get Leighton in whatever capacity that we need her to be in. And she's been a really good team player, and she's bounced around and played some right field, plays first base, and also has had a good fall and had a really good last 2 weeks in the circle as well. So we expect a lot from her, and I think she can handle that. And I don't think she'll let any of that stuff, put pressure on her, because she's a good player, and she's going to help this team tremendously.
And Presley still got the coolest name in softball.
Mm-hmm. Elvis.
Coach, best of luck to you come Saturday if you're able to play, if y'all are able to play. And to let everybody know, February the 9th will be our next show. That's going to be on a Monday. And every 2 weeks, as always, it'll be Coach Ryan Clark on here. And hopefully we can persuade him to bring in a couple of girls occasionally to talk to us. And let's get to know them. We're hearing their names and knowing what good they're doing on the diamond. So maybe we can get to actually put a name with a face and get to learn some of these girls' personalities, because the way you talk, Coach, you got some girls that's got some very interesting personalities on this team.
Yeah, we'll say that.
Nobody's bringing a rabbit.
No. We should just have y'all off. We won't do it live, but we'll let y'all come in on story time one day and just listen to some of the stories they have.
I'd like that, Coach. I'd like that a lot. That'd be fun.
You say that until you leave and your eyes are big and
that's
so
what you asked for.
yep, no doubt.
Absolutely.
They're great kids, though. The ones we've had on here, they're great.
Yeah. Yeah, we got some good we like having good people in the program. That helps a lot. You know, it helps everything be a lot more smooth. It helps the operation, helps us be a better team. So
Coach, shout outs before we get going.
yeah, I kind of mentioned it a while ago. Ava Ramsey just signed a Division One scholarship to Kennesaw State. So
Congratulations.
yeah, that's big. That's the first one since we've started the program back up. She won't be the last one, but we've got several more that are getting offers right now in that sophomore class, and they're just trying to make their decision. But you know, to have a Division One signee in the second year is pretty big, and that shows a lot to what Ava's done and the work she's put in. And we went over to play Kennesaw this fall, and I'd already mentioned to the Kennesaw State coach about her, and she had a really big day, and they jumped all over it, and it was no doubter from that point forward. So we're excited for Ava and excited to see what she does this year, and you know, her future at Kennesaw State.
Amen. That's huge.
Yep, absolutely. That's great. So be sure to join us again February the 9th. I think it's going to be at 6 o'clock, depending on when coach is available, but more likely 6 o'clock. February 9th will be our back on routine if somebody don't double book us again. Be back on February the 9th.
I don't know who did that. Was that Phil?
That was Phil.
Probably.
I didn't want to call him out,
Sabotage.
but yeah, Phil double booked us. I think he nearly triple booked us, but anyway, it's all good. We got it all taken care of. But join us February 9th when we'll be back on our regular schedule with Coach Ryan Clark and the Gadsden State softball team. And Coach already said that he'll bring some players on occasionally, and that's going to be great. Always looking forward to it. You know, we've had 2 or 3 on here since we've been doing this, and it's always great to get to know them.
Yeah,
And actually get to talk to them and ask them questions about you and get to know you a little bit more behind the scenes, I guess you can say.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or you can just let us believe all the Tyler Van stories.
Don't do that.
All right.
You don't want to listen to those.
Yeah, absolutely. So Coach Ryan Clark, the star of the Gadsden State softball show, QB1 Randy Cunningham. I'm the Howard Chaney. And if you can, at all will and possible, stay warm for the next couple of days, and be careful if you have to get